A brand new way for the West Virginia University Athletic Department to make some money for their student athletes and be competitive in today's landscape. We're going to talk about it. There was a statement made by Neal Brown in his introductory press conference at North Texas that has some West Virginia fans in a tizzy. Even some members of the media seem to be speaking out about it. I'm going to touch on that and tell you why I think it's being blown way out of proportion. And then last but not least, private equity has finally made its way officially into college sports, it appears. Not only in college sports, but right in our own league, the Big 12. We're going to talk about that, what it means for that particular institution, and also for West Virginia and teams like them. So stick around and we'll have these conversations right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers and, of course, sometimes even around the Big 12. As you see on the screen for those watching, and the three topics I mentioned, if you're listening, that's what we're talking about on today's show. Let's go ahead and start off with the new revenue stream for West Virginia Mountaineer Athletics. Another outside-the-box idea by Wren Baker and his team, and a way to help West Virginia compete in today's landscape. So let's go ahead and do this share real quick. I'll pull up this tweet by West Virginia. It says, "Introducing Mountaineer Travel, a custom travel platform that allows WVU fans to directly support WVU Athletics through discounted travel purchases around the world." It says, "Start booking," has a link to the site. As you see the graphic for those watching below, it says save up to 50% on travel bookings through Mountaineer Travel. And when you click the link, and I'll walk through this for those of you watching, it's no different than going to a site like Expedia or Booking.com or any of those places. But it's got obviously the Flying WV front and center, has Mountaineer Travel front and center. This is obviously something brought on by Golden Blue Enterprises, the new private entity that has been set up to help West Virginia increase revenue. But man, it's the site, based on what I can tell, looks very, very easy to navigate. There's obviously a place to sign in if you open an account with them. You can look for hotels, look for theme parks. Obviously, you can book flights through the Clarksburg Airport, the official airport of WVU Athletics. Obviously, first thing it shows you are flights to Myrtle Beach, which obviously, as we all know as West Virginians, the southernmost city in West Virginia, right? We all love to go to Myrtle Beach. You keep scrolling down, you can book trips to Myrtle Beach, New York City, Outer Banks, Orlando. Those are just a few separate tabs available. Of course, obviously, you can search for select cities as well. Then there's a statement at the bottom. It says, "No extra cost, just extra impact. Book your next trip through Mountaineer Travel and unlock exclusive rates you won't find anywhere else. Up to 50% off hotels. No fees, no catch. Just deals that save you money and support WVU." And it has a comparison at the bottom of what you will save by using WVU Travel or West Virginia Travel or whatever, Mountaineer Travel. What you will save using Mountaineer Travel versus competing sites like Expedia and Booking.com. Pretty cool, actually. I think it's a good idea. Just another way that West Virginia is thinking outside the box and helping bring in money for their athletic department, helping them stay competitive in today's landscape, helping their student athletes make more money. All right. So look, if you want to on your next trip, try using Mountaineer Travel. I'm going to try to do the same myself. Now, the second topic of today's show is a statement made by Neal Brown during his introductory press conference at North Texas. Now, I've seen it. There was an article on this over at West Virginia on SI by Skylar Callahan. The Voice of Morgantown has written about it. I saw that Locked On West Virginia did a show about it. I was not going to talk about it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, to be perfectly honest with you. I did hear him say it. I listened to the press conference. I thought, no biggie. Okay? Before I give you my reasoning behind that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the statement was. And the quote is, he was obviously asked about his stops at Troy and West Virginia, and the statement he made about how he feels like coaches always want to leave a place better than they found it. And he said during his introductory press conference, when asked, he says, "Just like I spoke about Eric Morris, really feeling like he left North Texas better than he found it," because obviously that's who he's replacing. He goes on to say, "We feel really strongly that we left West Virginia University better than we found it. We were able to set a solid foundation for that. we had to maneuver a lot of changing landscapes. Took that job in 2019, COVID hits, NIL hits, transfer portal, all those kinds of things. And we leave that in 23 and 24, where we had the second most wins in the Big 12 of anybody. So we really felt like we made a positive impact. Now, I did not know the stat about having the second most wins in the Big 12 of anybody those 2 years combined, which would have been 15. They had a 9-win season in 23 and a 6-win season in 24. But the part that really got fans talking and people doing shows about this is the part where he says he left it better than they found it. And their argument is, no, you didn't. You had one of the worst stretches in Mountaineer football history. You only exceeded 6 wins one time. We all understand that. The on the field part, and I actually agree with that when you look at on the field. And you could argue that what he took over in 2019 was worse than what he left it. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's pretty equal, honestly. But he definitely didn't have the success that other coaches had at West Virginia. He had even less success than Dana Holgorsen. So that's really got a lot of people thinking and saying, why in the world would he make that statement? Here's why I don't have an issue with it. Number one, he's getting introduced for his new job. Is he supposed to get up there and say, yeah, we sucked there? We did a terrible job? Is that what he's supposed to say? He can't say that. Number two, if you look at the other things that he did at West Virginia outside of the on the field stuff, outside the wins and losses, and he talked about building a foundation, you take a look at the facilities that were improved under his watch. The $50 million facilities that they brought in, that was under his watch. Now, I'm not sure how much of a hand he had in that. Maybe that was mostly under Shane Lyons. But nonetheless, he was the coach at the time. It was under his watch, so he can claim it, right? Those facilities help in recruiting. The interview I did the other day with Kedrick Triplett, the new Mountaineer receiver, facilities was a big deal for him. You hear almost every Mountaineer, we've heard Kevin Brown talk about it. West Virginia's facilities stack up with just about anybody in the country. That was done under Neal Brown's watch. You look at the 5th quarter program that he started to help students in their life after football. He started that. From my understanding, it was even his idea. So he does deserve some credit for that. Those are the types of things he may be talking about. He may not be talking just about wins and losses. He's talking about building a program and leaving the program in a better place than when he found it. And I don't think, and even though Rich Rod and his staff are in a better place financially with better NIL and all that, the ball got rolling on all that under Neal Brown. No, he didn't. He didn't use it effectively. He didn't win enough games. I agree with all of that. I don't have any disagreement there. But the ball got rolling on all of that under Neal Brown. Country Roads Trust got off the ground under Neal Brown. And even though that was a separate entity from the school, I'm sure he had some say, some hand, something in that as the head football coach. Because it was his student athletes that were getting the majority of those deals. So to say that statement was a lie or was wrong is not necessarily accurate. Because you have to look at the big picture, not just the on the field performance. At the end of the day, his on field performance was not where it needed to be. It's the reason he got let go. But to say that he was wrong in that statement, I just don't agree with. Now, you may disagree with me, and you may agree more with Skylar and Voice of Morgantown and Locked On West Virginia, whoever else talks about this. I wasn't even going to talk about it, but I felt like because I had a difference of opinion from those guys that I needed to get down here and give you my 2 cents. But long story short is, I don't think this is that big of a deal. Let's just support Neal Brown, leave him be. I'm happy for him that he got the new job. I hope he has success there. Outside of any time he may have to play West Virginia, I hope he has success. I have no issue with the statement he made or any statements he made at his press conference. Now, the third topic of this show is getting a little bit off of West Virginia, looking more at the Big 12. Before we do, though, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Appalachia Digital. They're the folks who designed our website over at wvsportschat.com, where you can read about the Mountaineers. Appalachia Digital designed that site. They did a great job. They can design you a new site if you want one. Go to appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you. If you have a current site you want it upgraded, they can do that too. They can also help you get found easier on Google. So please go check it out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Thank them for supporting what we do here on the channel and over at the site. Third and final topic of the show is private equity is here. It's not only in college football, in college sports, it's in the Big 12. Ross Dellinger broke a story today that the Utah Utes, the University of Utah, is apparently in the process of entering an agreement, a $500 million capital deal with a private equity firm called Otro Capital. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds about who Otro Capital is. You can read all that. I'll leave a link to Ross's article in the description box. But here are the bullet points, the headlines of what this deal means for Utah. Otro is a private. They're setting up an entity called Utah Brands and Enterprises LLC. It's a private, independent offshoot of the athletic department. Just like West Virginia has Golden Blue Enterprises, Utah is now starting Utah Brands and Enterprises LLC. The difference being, Utah Brands and Enterprises LLC is a private equity partnership or a private equity deal, has the backing of a private equity firm, whereas Golden Blue Enterprises, to my understanding, does not. Unless they've done something behind closed doors that none of us know about, it is not. According to Ross, this is the first type of deal in college athletics. Under this deal, which again is expected to raise about $500 million in capital for Utah athletics, there's going to be, I think it said a 9 or 10 figure cash infusion up front. I think it was 10-figure cash infusion up front to help Utah athletics. But under this agreement, under this deal, Utah, the university, will maintain majority ownership and decision-making authority, while also basically selling off a percentage of ownership to Otro Capital. So Otro Capital will have an ownership stake in Utah Brands and Enterprises LLC, but not a majority ownership. That's the deal. There will be a board set up. The chairman of that board will be Athletic Director Mark Harlan. The seats on the board will be reserved for trustees and members of Otro Capital. The president of Utah Brands and Enterprises will be a third party, an individual from a third party outside the athletic department. However, he will have to answer to that board, again, which will be chaired by Mark Harlan. That way, the university has final say in all decisions. A little twist to this is that prominent donors will have the opportunity to buy a stake in Utah Brands and Enterprises. So the high dollar donors, to use West Virginia as an example, it would be like giving Ken Kendrick the opportunity to buy a stake, or Pat McAfee an opportunity to buy a stake, or Ike Morris, or all the others prominent donors you can think of could buy a stake in the company and have an ownership stake in it, right? I mentioned Otro gets a percentage of the ownership, while the school gets that upfront cash infusion and a partner to help them earn revenue long term. Now, this is, it's not just the upfront cash infusion. Otro is going to use their influence, their business savvy, their relationships to help earn revenue for Utah Brands and Enterprises, and by extension, for the Utah Athletic Department, for their student athletes, for rev sharing, the whole 9 yards. And then, of course, Otro Capital will get a percentage of that revenue. So that's what's in it for them. They're going to get a percentage of the revenue over time, which means it's going to be, they're going to want to work hard. They're going to be motivated to go out and try to get deals for Utah, because it will benefit them as well, and they will be able to put more money in their pocket. Now, let's just say, a lot of people say this is a bad idea. Let's say this deal doesn't work. according to Ross Dellinger, there is going to be an exit clause for Utah to buy their way out of this deal in 5 to 7 years. So if they see it's not working, Utah will have the opportunity to buy their way out, or they choose to to go a different route. They can buy their way out in 5 to 7 years. One important note to this, and I want to make sure I cover, is even though this Utah Brands and Enterprises will have employees, a lot of the employees in the athletic department will be employees of Utah Brands and Enterprises. It will not impact coaching decisions, coaching hires, and will not impact player personnel decisions. So they won't have a say in what players they get from the portal or what players they recruit out of high school. They won't have a say in what coaches get hired, what coaches get fired, any of that. All of that will be done by the university, by Mark Harlan, the athletic department, and the coaching staff. What are my thoughts on this? We knew it was coming eventually, right? The Big 12 has been trying to do similar deals. The Big 10 has been trying to do deals. Didn't work. But now it's coming to the school level. I actually, if I'm a Utah fan, I actually like this. It will help Utah be competitive with the big boys. It might help set them up. There's talk about Utah wanting to get out of the Big 12 and go to the Big 10. It may help with that down the road. And I've seen comments about, well, what if other schools decide to do this later? Then Utah uses their competitive advantage. Okay, maybe they do eventually, but right now they're going to have one. And even take the competitive advantage out of the equation, it will help them just keep up. Because other schools around the country are likely looking at other ideas. Conferences are looking at other ideas. You've got the SEC and Big Ten out here already surpassing everybody else in money. This will help Utah compete with those schools a little better, a little easier, level the playing field a little bit from their standpoint. And even if other schools do something similar, at the end of the day, it's helping them all stay afloat, helping them all afford to pay this revenue share money that they're going to have to pay, which, by the way, is going to increase by like 4% a year. We'll help them keep their facilities upgraded the way they need to. We might prevent them from having to cut sports and scholarships. So I think it's a good thing. Is it risky? Absolutely. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and these athletic departments are desperate for cash. First part of the show, I talked about moves West Virginia's making. Now, their moves are less risky, it seems. But don't be surprised if at some point you see West Virginia do some kind of deal like this. It would not surprise me at all if it happens. I have no inside sources saying it is. It's just a gut feeling I have. West Virginia's talking about putting in brand new suites, premium seating, and a new press box, which I think it's like $150 million project or something like that. Where's that money going to come from? West Virginia doesn't have $150 million, and he says it's all coming from private funds. West Virginia doesn't have a ton of major donors, and those donors are already being asked to step up and fund NIL and revenue sharing and all that. Are you also going to go to them and ask them to do this? Money's coming from somewhere. Maybe there's a deal being done behind the scenes that we haven't been made aware of yet, that hasn't been announced yet, that could be a private equity. We don't know. But don't be surprised if a deal like this comes to your school, whether it's West Virginia, whether it's Kansas State, Iowa State, whoever. Do not be surprised if your school does some kind of deal similar to this. We all know Texas Tech and BYU have been talked about as the front runners in the Big 12 as far as money goes, as far as revenue goes, as far as donor support. This is a way for Utah to help close that gap. Now, what will other schools do to help close the gap? West Virginia is finding unique ways like Mountaineer Travel and the Hope Coliseum deal and other things. But it's not going to stop there, folks. There's going to be more coming down the pipeline. Will it involve private equity? It's to be determined. So keep your eyes open. Keep your head on a swivel. Be paying attention because it could be coming to a school near you, including West Virginia. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this deal that Utah's cutting with Atro Capital. I had to look at my notes. Atro Capital and this whole the formation of Utah brands and enterprises. What do you think about it? We all knew it was coming, didn't know when, didn't know where, didn't know with who, but it looks like Utah is the first school to take that plunge. So let me know what you think. Also, let me know what you thought about the other topics we talked about in the show. If you're listening to this on podcast, please follow the show. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out. If you're watching on YouTube, that thumbs up button down below. It might be small on your device, but it only takes a split second to hit it real quick. It's free. It really helps to out. If all of you, if everyone watching hits that thumbs up button, it'll show YouTube. Man, a lot of people really like Couz's Corner. We need to show it to more people. That's how it works. Leaving comments does the same thing. YouTube loves interaction on videos. The algorithm loves it. It picks up those interactions and feeds that content out to more people. So comments, likes. If you're still able to hype on your mobile devices, you can do that too. Hit that hype button below between download and thanks. And also subscribe to the channel. That helps a lot too. And again, all those things are free and easy. And there's buttons you can see below for all of that right below this video. If you want to support me financially, there are ways you can do that. There are links in the description box with ways you can get your Couz's Corner merch, do your Fanatic shopping, all of that. Or you can become a VIP channel member like the folks whose names are scrolling along the bottom of your screen. Folks like Earth Ether, folks like Goalie730, folks like Reaper1234, a Chinchillio, and Jay McClanahan 353, all paid supporters of the channel, paid members of the channel. You can become a paid member. There should be a button below that says join. It's either white or it might be black or red. Hit that button. It'll show you the 2 levels I offer and what comes along with those, what perks come along with it. You can join. It's also a very cheap and easy way to support what I do here on the channel and help me keep the lights on. I really appreciate you tuning into this episode, which also helps me keep the lights on. I hope the rest of your day is top shelf. Be blessed and Q Country Roads.